What is up, everybody? Today we are going to learn about Sonic Boom. Now, I've been learning about this in school, and I thought I'll look up a video about it. So here I am with my brother. So
hi,
say hi.
We are awesome because all these jets are flying, but I think they're flying all the way in the sky, but
They
crashed.
Okay, let's get into the video.
So they're in here in the cloud. So one jet is in it. So that's it.
Yeah, he got it.
And the last jet.
Build up on this airplane. Oh, yeah, baby! Ladies and gentlemen, the Super Hornet high-speed pass. Ladies and gentlemen, the Super Hornet high-speed pass.
Wow.
Hope
you guys enjoyed that.
So we are off.
What's this?
Operation Iraqi Freedom. 10 days into the war. Two F-16s cruised 10,000 feet above the northwest corner of Iraq.
Our mission that night was searching for Scud missiles in Iraq.
Lieutenant Colonel Edward Lynch served 3 tours as an F-16 pilot in combat operations against Iraq.
You're going on 6 to 8 hour missions, just looking around at things on the ground. It's like, are we ever going to see any action?
Not long into their mission, Lynch and his wingman get a call that threatens to test the limits of man and machine.
And all of a sudden, the radios came alive, directing us to some coordinates that were north of us. They wanted us there fast, so I put the coordinates in, pushed up the power, and we flew as fast as we could.
Minutes later, Lynch and his wingman circle above a chaotic scene. 30,000 feet below, 500 Iraqi troops surround 52 British Special Operations soldiers.
When we got overhead their position, we heard them on the radio.
It's food race! We have got them totally around us!
You got this guy who's like, I'm dying. I need your help now.
The enemy now is around us. They have turned out all the lights. We need your help, okay?
Special ops guys are the guys with tattoos and daggers on their legs, and they don't call for help like that unless it's really bad.
The soldiers have one request. Get the bombs in now. The Vipers ask if the ground troops have an infrared strobe. They need to get a read on the troops' location. Okay, turn your strobe on now. Strobe on now.
We're wearing night vision goggles, which require illumination from some light source. And there was no illumination because there was no moon, there was no stars, and there's nothing on the ground visible. So I wasn't going to be able to visually acquire them long enough in order to drop a bomb.
Lynch gives the troops the bad news. bombs aren't going to work.
Honcho 2-3, I have no strobe. I can't help you if I can't see you. It's frustrating because if you don't do something, they're going to die. And so you've got to come up with your own tactics.
Lynch and his wingman know things on the ground are quickly getting worse. So they come up with an unusual plan. One that relies on the power of the F-16's engine. Most fighters have two engines. The F-16 only needs one.
Dang.
This is the F-110 GE engine found in the F-16 Flying Falcon. It gives us the ability to take the F-16 to a fight anytime, anywhere.
The engine's power comes from its afterburner, located on the F-16's tail. It produces almost 30,000 pounds of thrust, enough force to let the Viper fly at twice the speed of sound. When the afterburner kicks in, there's no mistaking.
When you go into afterburner, it makes like an exploding kind of sound.
If the F-16 flies fast enough, it creates a supersonic boom, a sound that Lynch plans to use as a weapon. As the F-16 flies, it produces sound waves. As the plane travels faster and faster, these waves can't get out of each other's way. When the F-16 breaks the speed of sound, the sound waves become one giant shock wave, a sonic boom. If the pilot pulls up sharply from a steep descent, he can make that boom sound like it hits the ground. In Iraq, that noise is exactly what Lynch is counting on.
I was hoping the Iraqis would think it is a weapon coming down, and then that would allow a chance for the troops to escape.
Lynch counts down to the drop.
Is that true?
Then barrels his F-16 fast below the cloud cover. 3,000 feet above the ground, Lynch suddenly pulls up. The force of the Viper's engine shakes the troops below.
You're breathing hard, your heart rate's up. I mean, it's like you're running a 100-yard dash in the airplane.
Lynch doesn't have time to find out if his dive bomb works. Suddenly, an ear-piercing noise takes over his cabin. It's the F-16's warning system. An Iraqi missile has locked onto him, and it's coming up fast.
Now, it's time for me to worry about my own self to survive. Right now, I have to react.
Deep in Iraqi airspace, Lieutenant Colonel Edward Lynch tries to outrun a surface-to-air missile in his F-16.
I'm in full afterburner, so I'm making a heck of a lot of racket. And now I'm accelerating extremely fast and pulling up my nose and hope that the missile will overshoot.
Finally, the F-16's missile lock warning stops its whine. Lynch's wild maneuvers have worked. His next concern, the troops. He calls down to find out if his ruse worked.
The sound of those engines in afterburner allowed the special ops troops to escape. It was an emotional moment that I'd been part of something to help someone in need.
It's not the first time troops had looked to the F-16. In Iraq and Afghanistan, the U.S. Air Force relies on the Viper for a whopping 33% of its close air support missions. It's a surprising mission for a plane that was built for a specialized purpose: dogfighting. South Vietnam. Communist Viet Cong mount stinging attacks against American forces.
This is Pleiku, the air base that was ripped by Vietnamese communist guerrillas. 8 Americans died in the attack.
The U.S. Air Force sends its jets, expecting to make quick work of the North Vietnamese Air Force. They're in for a rude surprise.
When the Air Force got to Vietnam, they found that many of those fighters didn't have the agility and maneuverability to match up against North Vietnam's MiGs.
The Air Force's main enemy is the Soviet-made MiG. Small, cheap, and blazingly fast. In 1968 alone, they take out 22 U.S. Air Force planes. Enter Air Force Colonel John Boyd, leading a team he calls the Fighter Mafia. They're determined to build the ultimate dogfighter.
The real goal of the Fighter Mafia was to create an airplane that was hotter than the F-15, half the size, half the cost, and way better than any fighter in the world.
The F-16 was a visual shocker. This was very different from the snub-nosed MiGs and those heavy jets. The F-16 was a new breed of fighter.
The F-16 is the first fighter designed with negative stability. It's made to be inherently unstable.
That sounds a
Whatever
little
you're
bit
doing,
counterintuitive, but what
stop.
that means is the aircraft has a very responsive flight control system. The jet is one of the best turning fighters that's ever been designed.
The F-16 turns so fast that pilots call it a rate machine, maintaining a very high rate of degrees turned per second. These high-speed turns defy the force of gravity.
The F-16 was designed to withstand 9 Gs, 9 times the force of gravity. That's still the highest number of Gs the Air Force designs its fighters for. Everything about the F-16 was designed for the fighter pilot about to enter a hard-charging, maneuvering dogfight.
Hope you enjoyed.